Wylder Ayres. I use they, them pronouns, and I am a previous development director, a multidisciplinary artist, community organizer, and full spectrum birth doula. A little bit of everything, all in the name of our community. This is the third year that we have done this grant writing workshop, and thank you so much for being here. It's wonderful to see all of your faces this evening. So we're gonna jump in, but first, before I jump in, I just wanna thank Bombyx Center for Arts and Equity for continuing to support and meaningfully uplift and resource and encourage our multidisciplinary arts community here in Hampshire County and Hampton County and Franklin County and beyond. Thank you, Bombyx. So grateful. You're welcome, says Bombyx. All right. Oh, there we go. So I want to start us off with this quote by one of my favorite multidisciplinary artists, Alok Ved Menon. The job of an artist is to replenish imagination. It's to say, there are ideas we haven't considered yet, feelings we haven't encountered yet, love we haven't surrendered to yet. Yet is the most wonderful word ever built. Let's live there together, redesign existence. How do you replenish your own imagination? I want to start here because we as multidisciplinary artists are at the frontier of yet in our creation. And I know that when we stare down the sort of monotonous screen that is a grant writing proposal, it's easy to lose the heart and connection and feeling of why we do what we do. And in fact, we can go so far as to believe, oh, I don't deserve this funding, or I'm not experienced enough for this funding, or I can't write a grant, or they'll never fund my project. And I'm here to help remind all of us together that all of us are co-creating and creating work that is worthy of resources and support. And I just love to return to this quote, and I encourage you in your funding seeking processes to continue to remind yourself, why do I keep coming back to this? Why? And it is that that essence that will enliven your writing and how you communicate the work that you do, and will cause your grant to leap off the page and be funded. I'm very hopeful. All right. Oh, sorry. This is a little, okay. So I'd like to start. I'd like you to turn to somebody that you either know or don't know, and I'd like you to introduce yourself and share your name, pronouns, and I'd like you to take 1 minute to describe your creative practice. I'm gonna give us like 3 minutes in total. We're something that we're gonna be kind of talking about is in grant writing, there's a lot of like character counts, which is so bizarre and is very antithetical to us as artists, and we're gonna practice that right now in real time. So names, pronouns, and describe your creative practice. All right, go. Take 1 more minute. I know, it's wild. All right, beautiful people, wrap up whatever you're sharing. I hope that these conversations can be seeds for future connection. I'm going to invite us back. All right. Thank you all. I am having, oh, goodness. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. So it's pretty challenging to share your creative practice in 1 minute. Every word counts. We're going to jump into breaking down some grant language. I'm sorry. I think, here we go. All right. When you hear the word culture bearer, what does that mean? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, exactly. Does anyone want to add to that?
Could you repeat, because it's so hard to hear?
Sure. You know what? I'm gonna run this over because you expressed your. Do you mind? You were so articulate. I'd love for you to say it.
What did I just say? A culture bearer is someone who practices some kind of traditional art form that's associated with a certain culture, such as an ethnic background, folk art, that kind of thing.
Thanks for letting me put you on the spot. Raise your hand if you might identify the work that you do as being a culture bearer. Cool. All right. When we hear artist, what does that mean? What is an artist? A maker? Anyone want to add to that? A person who practices art. Maker, a person who practices art. So we're in a practice as culture bearers and as artists. When you hear creative practitioner, what does that mean? How is that different from artist, or is it? It feels less scary. Less scary. Ooh. Why? Mm. What was that?
As opposed to practicing, yeah.
Practicing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Professional versus creative. Yeah.
Raise your hand if you feel like identifying as creative practitioner feels really resonant. Raise your hand if you feel comfortable identifying as an artist. Cool. No, I'm just curious. It's okay. I honestly really resonate with you. Yeah, I really resonate with like the practice, the act of showing up to something and being, kind of implies like imperfect or being in process, which feels representative. Yeah.
I just want to add to that. Like, I'm not a practicing artist right now, but I feel like the way I go through the world and see the world and take in information is as a creative practitioner. You know, like
Yeah.
someone who's building. So that's, I don't know if that resonates for anyone. So I agree with what Kate said about artists being like, ooh, like, you have to be something. But at the same time, I feel for me it's about just the way I look at the world.
Raise your hand if it's about how you look at the world. Like your creative practice is like ever like present.
You know, it makes me
Yeah.
realizing my own biases. I kind of think of it when someone's an artist, well, they've arrived.
Ah.
If someone's a practitioner, they're working on it.
May we never arrive. How boring. But yes, totally. May we I hope that we can continue to work on it. Wait, is there a hand over here? Yes.
I had a different interpretation of the term. I thought it was more like a craft, like somebody who's a bookbinder, or there's a tradition, but it's not a cultural tradition.
For practitioner? Huh, okay, yeah, I mean, yes.
So I kind of want to piggyback a little bit off of what she says. When I think of creative practitioner, I think of someone who has developed some skill, whatever it might be, painting, dance, art, visual or any other form, and you're just doing it year after year after year after year after year, developing the extension of whatever that skill you started with. So whatever your creative skill is, or talent, or whatever it might be, you're developing that as a practitioner over the years into a master of whatever it is that you're going to achieve.
Thank you for highlighting that. Yes, a huge component that we'll circle back to when we really start unpacking the grant is a demonstration of practice over time. So thank you for highlighting that. Yeah. Okay, when we hear the word achievement and we think about our artistry, what does that mean? Or what does it make you feel when you hear the word achievement?
You've completed a project.
Completed a project? Yeah. Oh, sorry.
External validation.
External validation.
I feel like for me, achievements are things that are personally set. So like if I'm able to achieve some level, it doesn't even have to be a complete project or complete work, but achieving some endeavor into my creative process on some level feels like it's an achievement to me.
Thank you for highlighting that. I think something that is really exciting about this grant is they are looking at, projects that have been actualized, and also there's space to also articulate something that is in process as well. So thank you for highlighting that.
Can I ask what you meant by that? There's space to highlight what that last sentence was that you said?
Oh, we're gonna go over that. I'm just like naming that the great thing about MassCultural Council is that they're not always just looking at product. They also are really interested in process. So like when we talk about work samples a little later, like it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's complete that you're highlighting about your creative practice, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Okay, creative expression. Yeah. Tell me about creative expression. What does that mean? Yeah.
The modality of your creativity?
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. And yes.
The intangible, tangible.
Ooh, yes. Juicy. I like that. That's good. And then cultural practice, kind of ties back to culture bearer. What would that mean? Sort of in reference to what you were mentioning as culture bearer. How would folks understand that?
Well, if culture bearer is the person,
Yep.
right? The practice would be the activities or the skills or the products, the things that come out of whatever it is the culture bearer is up to.
That's okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you for going on a brief deep dive into these terms. I think that language in itself can be its own barrier to accessing something. And I know for me, sometimes when I don't understand something, I might think it's not for me. And so I feel really passionate about how can we be in a dynamic conversation about these terminologies that are being used outside of us to contextualize the work that we intimately do, to make sure that we feel like there's a doorway to accessing these resources versus I don't think I'm a culture bearer, or I don't know if I'm an artist, or right. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just want to add to the cultural practice. I think it's not definitely what she said is true, but it's also the context, being engaged in cultural community, and also understanding the history and the context of the practice. I think is part of these things. I don't know.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for adding that. So we're going to turn one more time, and my question to you is, can you share how your work as an artist, culture bearer, creative practitioner demonstrates your achievement of creative expression and commitment to your artistic and cultural practice? So that's blah, 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 blah. What did I just say? What does this mean? What are we saying here? Does somebody want to try to kind of simplify that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Can I give you this? Oh, just so people can, yeah, thank you.
Okay, hello. Okay, so the way I'm interpreting this is to share how what you're doing is like an ongoing process, and share how you've worked on it in the past and how you're working on it now and your plans for the future, so that we can see the way in which you've grown in this skill and are committed to continuing to do it.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Does anybody else want to offer an interpretation? Yeah.
Convince me of your stick-to-itiveness.
Oh, convince me of your stick-to-itiveness. That's good. Anybody else? Okay, I'd like you to turn to the same folks you were talking to earlier, and I want you to jump into trying to answer this question for yourself. I'm going to give you 5 minutes for the group. This is just meant to scratch the surface, so thank you for bearing with me on time. All right.
Can you give a half time so that we know when to
I would, yes, thank you for that. I will be happy to do that. All right, go ahead. Yes, yes, I'm going to email everything. Yeah. It's all good. Yeah. All right, it's time to switch partners. 30 more seconds. Bring your thoughts to a close. All right. All right, y'all, let's bring it back. So that's the grant, actually. You just wrote the grant. Literally, the two questions that you talked about that is the grant. And then there are work samples. So it's not inconceivable. Great job. All you need to do is write it down now. Oh. Is there a spot that I should be pressing this change slide? Oh, okay. All right. So we're going to jump into some grant requirements and then further break down those three sections of the grant and then leave a little bit of room for questions. All right. So the portal opens September 16th. You can make an account before then because, and if you don't have one already, I would recommend getting on that as soon as possible. If it's not something you have experience in, sometimes it can be a little bit clunky. And I will be sending these slides out to everybody who participated. So this is a live link. All you have to do is click this link, and if you don't have a login already, you just follow the steps to make a login, and that is the interface where you will be submitting the grant on. So something that's really interesting, that the way that MassCultural Council funds this grant is by proportion to the county's applications. So if we drive in more applications in like Hampshire, Hampden, Franklin, Berkshire County, we will have more like artists funded in those regions. That's how the percentage works because they're basically assessing where the need is based on like those statistics. So something that Cassandra and I have a personal investment in is how can we continue to put our region of Western Massachusetts, including the Berkshires, on the map in the face of Boston-based funding. That is something that we still need a lot more advocacy around, and this is a really great starting place, is submitting this grant. Even if you don't get it this time, it's showing that we have a vibrant, multidisciplinary artist community here in Western Mass, and that we want to keep drawing that attention and those resources out here so we can continue to like raise the amount of resources that are allocated to our regions. Something that I just want to say anecdotally is that if you don't get the grant this time, apply again. You know, I know somebody who applied 3 times before they got it, and they used the same application. So, like, again, it's really a matter always of who applies, which artists are represented, the regions that, like there's a lot of, like, sort of statistical information that's being weighed as well, right? So keep going for it. Yeah. The grant isn't, they don't announce awards until, I believe it's March 2026. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a while. Okay. Yeah. So who can apply? You have to be 18 years of age or older. You have to be a full resident of Massachusetts for calendar year 2025. 2025, and when grants are awarded in spring 2026. This means you maintain your legal residence in Massachusetts. I wish it wasn't the case. This is just how they operate. You are not currently enrolled at a college or university as a full-time undergraduate student or as a graduate student in the arts. You did not receive a cultural sector recovery grant, artist fellowship grant, or traditional arts apprenticeship grant over $2,000 in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. Something that they're really trying to do with this grant is reach people who have not been funded by the MassCultural Council. You are not a governor-appointed MassCultural Council member. Staff, family, or likewise are ineligible to apply. Funding priorities. Applicants who have been historically underfunded by similar programs. People identify as BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, Latin, Asian, Native American, Pacific Islander, and all other ethnicities of color. People who identify as a person, or people who identify as a person with a disability. By the way, this is not my language, this is theirs. I also want to be clear, I do not work for the MassCultural Council. I am just an artist like you who is interested in more artists getting funding. Culture bearers or traditional artists, applicants who self-identify as meeting our definition of culture bearer or traditional artist. For this program, the definition of culture bearer or traditional artist includes individuals whose creative artistic practice is reflective of the cultural heritage of a community. Most often, a culture bearer or traditional artist is trained for years by mentor artists or community elders and carries a commitment to sustaining a living tradition. And then there's more information on their website if that is how you are going to be identifying on this application. People whose creative practice has been limited by poverty. To receive this priority, applicants will need to provide proof of current participation in one of the following programs: SNAP, Mass Health or Medicaid, Special Supplemental Nutrition Program, WIC, supplemental SSI, transitional aid to families with dependent children, and emergency aid to the elderly, disabled and children, and then federal and state public subsidized housing programs. Again, I wish that we didn't have to disclose like all of this information about like our lives to receive this kind of funding, and I really want to encourage you, if you do like fall under any of these sort of priorities, I really encourage you to like self-identify if that feels comfortable to you, in the spirit of like letting them prioritize you. And then what I want to name is funding prioritization is different from eligibility. So if you meet the eligibility requirements that we sort of talked through initially, you're still eligible to apply. They're just doing a lot of really needed work in the MassCultural Council around really like reconsidering these annual funding sources as like thinking more like reparatively about the redistribution of these sources. So something else to consider, and I actually didn't know this when I first applied, is that if you have received funding from the MassCultural Council in the last 6 fiscal years, they will be able to see that in their system, and you will not like most likely receive funding. So that's just something to note. I would apply. It's really unclear. Like if you received a $100 local cultural council grant, they're not super specific. They just say if you've received funding, but I think that's something that I'm still needing a little bit more clarity on. I just wanted to name that because that was new information that I just found out. All right, do we have any questions about that section before I jump in a little further? Yeah. So all the information I have is just what's on the slide. I think that would be a question to actually email MassCultural Council about. I do know that they're doing a lot of work like on the ground to like bring more resources to like Hamden, Franklin County. They're really interested in like rural communities. Like again, really looking at communities that have maybe historically not received the same kind of funding that like, for instance, Northampton would have. I am not qualified to like answer that, if that makes sense. Yeah, but that's a really good question, and I'm happy to do some digging on that for you as well. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. All right, so the way that this grant is described, and this is sort of like the mission statement of the grant, in the language of MassCultural Council, we believe creativity has the power to transform society and make our state a better place to live, work, and thrive. Grants for creative individuals are unrestricted grants of $5,000 to Massachusetts artists, culture bearers, and creative practitioners to equitably advance creative expression throughout our diverse communities. So I wanted to share this language because I think something that can be really interesting is going to the MassCultural website and reading through how they contextualize like different funding sources based on what you're applying for. And that way you can, I always like encourage people to authentically write from like their own voice and their own experience, and like they're using language like has the power to transform society. Like it's a helpful context to kind of consider where these funders are coming from in terms of how they consider multidisciplinary arts and the power of the work that you do, right? Unrestricted means that unlike other funding sources, you can use these funds for anything that you want. They don't need to be for a creative project. They can be to pay your rent, to pay your utility bills, to pay your car insurance, to buy your groceries. This is an effort that started in 2020 by the MassCultural Council to deliver resources to artists whose work disappeared overnight. And again, $5,000 doesn't go incredibly far in the world that we're living in right now, but it is something. So returning back to the two parts of the grant that we kind of did our pair share on, the first section is just a 200 character limit space to describe your discipline or category of your work in your own words. And if you didn't get it, we had an example application that was handed out at the door. There's an amazing artist in our community who generously shared their application. This is an application that got funded, and I think it's a really great example of just speaking from your heart and like being yourself and like shedding all thoughts of like what a grant app should sound like, and this like really the feeling and the passion just really shines through. So if you want to look at this example application, you can see what our sort of example artist said. I am a professional singer-songwriter, composer, performer, and music teacher. I play piano, guitar, and ukulele, performing throughout the Northeast at libraries, schools, clubs, and festivals. That was the 200 character statement. And then there's the artist narrative, which is a 1,500 character statement. Or alternatively, you can film yourself for 2 minutes or record your voice for 2 minutes if that medium feels more accessible. They consider everything like equitably. So if you're like, yeah, writing 1,500 characters doesn't represent me, I'd like to talk about it, record yourself. And you can submit that instead. So again, this question literally is just share how your work as an artist, culture bearer, creative practitioner demonstrates your achievement of creative expression and commitment to your artistic cultural practice. And again, going back to this example, I think that this artist did such an amazing job covering sort of the full spectrum of their artistry. They're an arts educator, they're a performer, they're a multidisciplinary arts collaborator, and they fit that all in 1,500 characters. So if you're like at a loss, use this as a template and see like for a first draft where you go when you kind of follow this example using your own experience, right? This really helped me because what we do sometimes is so hard to pin down, and 1,500 characters goes by so quickly, right? So then there are a couple of guiding questions to consider that MassCultural Council provides, and you'll see on the portal when you go in to write your application. So when you're thinking about this narrative and you're like, where do I begin? I have this example. Here are some questions to kind of help guide your thinking. What are you trying to do or express with your creative work? How is this reflected in your work samples? So in the samples at the end, which we'll talk through, how is your work reflected in what you've chosen to represent yourself? How does your creative work habits and or results show your commitment to your artistic cultural practice? So again, you had highlighted so beautifully practice over time. Like, what are we building on? How have we continued to show up to this work for like however many years you've been at it, right? What do we need to know to best understand your artistic cultural practice and creative expression? So what about you, like, influences the work that you do? What do you feel like you need to share with the funder to feel like this quick snapshot is representative of who you are and what you do and why you do it? And then the final section are work samples. So depending on your discipline, there are a lot of different options in terms of how you can represent yourself. And I am a multidisciplinary artist, so I'm just gonna use myself as an example. It's very normal to upload like multiple forms of expression, if that's your artistry. Something that I just wanna reinforce is don't go above the limits that they specify. There's like panels of like volunteer folks like reading through these applications, and it's not gonna serve you. It's really not gonna serve you to go above the limits. So find the juicy tidbits that you feel like represent your artistry. It's so hard. You wanna hand over your entire, life's work, but it's gotta be brief, and I really encourage you to stay in alignment with sort of the requirements that they're specifying. So what does this mean? Your work samples can be in progress or completed within the last 5 years. You may submit up to 5 total images or minutes or pages. So that's creative math if you're a multidisciplinary artist across all of that. So you would only be able to choose, like, if there was a certain timestamp of that video, like 1 minute, or, like the math basically has to add up so that like you're not going above 5 is my understanding. So like if you're gonna upload can you give the example of what you're imagining?
Video, what if it's a reel of a whole bunch of our, animation
And it's 5 minutes, and you're not uploading anything else.
Well, that's what I was wondering, if that could be added to, because you said a variety of words.
So it's 5 minutes total. Like if you have a 5-minute reel, that's it.
That's it, no other.
No. Yeah. Like, so, but if you have like, if you want to timestamp like video footage and be like, because there's a description section for all the uploads, you could be like from 1 minute to 2 minutes, and that counts as 1 minute. And then you could upload like some writing, like a page of writing, and then you just have to like keep it to their like 5.
So if you have the video, 1 minute, and then writing, what is the limit?
So writing it can't be, so my understanding is that it would, like, if you did 1 minute of video, you could do 4 pages of writing. But you can't do, like, it's all up to 5 is my understanding. This is the language from their website. So up to 5 total images, minutes, or pages. This can all be one file type or include a mixture of file types. The important thing is that the total count is at least 1 and no more than 5.
You might mention what I saw down here, which is significant for me, the size of the document files. That has a maximum.
Yeah.
So you can't upload a novel as one document.
Right.
And put 4 more on top of it.
Exactly. It's 5 pages. That's all. And the document types and all of that is broken down in the handout. I know it's kind of mind-numbing, and again, yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious, does this
there's a description section after every thing that you upload, and I would just like make sure that you're clear about like your contribution to what you're uploading.
Yeah, that's what it says on there. It says if you didn't do it by yourself, say what you did and how you hoped it.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, yeah.
So I have written a one-woman show, theatrical, so I want to choose a piece from that, I mean, a section. How do I go about figuring that out?
So like you wanna submit like the written?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so that would be just 5 pages.
But I guess, and maybe this is too specific, but how does one choose amongst there's a lot of really great things.
Yeah.
And it happens. So how do I choose from all those great things?
Oh my God. I mean, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can answer that. But I mean, if you have like a trusted, like a friend or a collaborator, or you want to like maybe you've produced it, and whatever like leaps off the page and is the most alive, like whatever when you read it, you're like, yes, this is representative of me and my practice. And when somebody doesn't see this performed but they read it, it feels like really like it feels alive. You know, like when like some playwriting, like when you read it, you gotta see it. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes you can read something and be like, oh my God, like this is so poignant, right? So get some input from folks you've collaborated with would be my suggestion.
Okay, good suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just curious, like, I remember doing this when I was younger in school. I would sometimes make my font larger, so I had to write less. Terrible easy, I got over that. But in her case, like, is there a specification, like what size your font needs to be? Like, how much can I fit on this one page? You know that?
Oh, tricky. I've definitely made like 8-point font before. Like, cram it in. Not for this. Yeah, I mean they don't specify that, but I think that you want to consider like reader experience, because they'll know what you're doing, and like, probably not the greatest move. I mean, like, I would say like just whatever is standard for like a consumer, like somebody reading it. So
I'm not asking for her. I was just
oh
trying
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just, I mean, for anyone who's writing, like, make sure that it can be read. Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm not quite sure how to word this, but like, say you practice various kinds of art, it seems like it would be better to try to show them just for proof, like that you do all these different kinds and not get caught in like, oh, did I pick the best 1 minute of this song, or like, you know what I'm saying?
My recommendation to you is, what of your multidisciplinary artistry have you been committed to over time? Because there's so much language in this grant that's like practice, like over, like they're wanting to see that like achievement over time. Like, so if you do all of those art forms together and you feel like, yeah, like great, upload different examples. But if you feel like there's something like, oh wow, I've been a musician for like 6 years and then recently I started to paint, maybe apply as a musician.
But if you've done everything
Forever, then yeah, like think about what cross sections of your artistry tell the strongest story, and then I think that actually this example is pretty solid. While this artist is primarily a musician, they practice their music across different like facets as an educator, performer, like recording artist. So I think like trying to think about like how do all of these how does your practice like speak to each other, and how have you showed up to it over time? Does that help at all? It's a little general, I realize.
Seems a bit like a quality over quantity, like trying to show off that you can do all these different
Yes.
things isn't necessarily the goal. It's to show off that you've shown dedication within at least one, if not multiple disciplines.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at more is like, if you speak about doing various things, you want to show that you actually do everything that you say, right?
Yeah. Like if you describe describe yourself as a multidisciplinary artist, then like, I think like showing that in your samples is an important thing to do. And again, I'm just gonna keep referencing this grant example because what this artist did is they also referenced like their work samples in their statement. And so it brings this cohesion to all of the moving parts of what they do and contextualizes what they chose to represent themselves in their work samples. Yeah, but I say like, yeah, it sounds like you do a lot of things and that should be highlighted because that's who you are. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm thinking that if I was thinking that I was focusing on nurturing my skills, my acting over the years, but then if I'm submitting a sample of my writing as a playwright, I mean, is that being too muddled about the discipline that does that make any sense? Because, I mean, even though I'm acting in it.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you're a playwright and performer. Or you, yeah. So
Yes.
then that's the story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but I only became a playwright by writing this one show, so I mean, I haven't been a playwright for.
So maybe the story is that you've been dedicated, like you have been a performer for X amount of years, and more recently, like this is like a work. Is it a work in progress? Is it done?
It's going to be performed at the beginning of the year next year.
Cool. Yeah. So like you can like kind of. I feel like there could be like a really nice way of like that being like this sort of like, yeah, exactly. And then maybe, I mean, if it felt representative or comfortable for you, maybe you submit 4 pages of your play and like a 1-minute like video monologue from the play or something like that. Because then you're kind of showing like the full scope of who you are, right? I'd be worried a little bit if you just submitted the script that you're not representing all those years as a performer, which sounds like that's really what you've been doing.
Well, what I was thinking of doing is submitting some of the script, but then also I have a video reel of some of my other acting that I've done.
Yeah, great. As long as it sticks to their parameters, great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm trying to figure out how to say this, but what is your thought process or experience when a group of artists, year after year, applying for a grant, but there's a good amount of quality artists who are using the same topic? Like out of this group, maybe 5 are doing the same thing that you're doing. How do you think they approach 5 artists doing the same thing for the one grant, as opposed to maybe they funded that type of film or artistry last year?
I think that's such a good question, and I am not like part of the grant
Can you
review
apply
process.
as an organization, in other words? Or
No.
Loosely.
I mean, this is a grant for like individuals. You can like reference the work that you've done with an organization, but it's not.
There's still humans who are determining who gets the grant.
Yeah.
And if someone just gets tired of seeing these kind of applications.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like you're like
Because-
like potential bias because humans are just like reading thousands of grants. And that, like, people just could disappear.
Somebody who does lights or whatever it might be.
Oh, that
Whatever it is, their creative talent is. But they've seen it year after year after year. We funded that last year. But it's a different person and it's a different artistry.
So I think that the thing about this grant is it's about the individual, and it's about the fact that the individual, like, it's your story. It's not about like, oh, these people are doing like kind of they're all interested in the same kind of work, or they're doing like it's about like funding individual artists. So I don't think like I think something like that would come up with like a local cultural council grant that's more project based. But this grant is about like you, your story, your art. It's not about like it's not you're not like yeah, that's my understanding. But again, I'm not like judging the grants, but I mean my understanding is it's really about you and your story, and like that's not gonna like if there are other people that like have story that is related, I don't think people are being judged on that.
Can I speak?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's a good question.
It's an excellent question, and I think it depends year over year on who the cohort is applying in that particular year. You know, year one, if there are 20 people in the same discipline, you know, perhaps your application is less competitive, but the next year, there could be 2 of you instead of 20, and so then your application has an opportunity to shine. So if you don't get funded in a particular year, like, please resubmit, because you never know who else is applying in a given year. Or it could be you're the only one who's doing that thing this year. There's no way to know because, I mean, unless you go knock on the doors of all your artist friends and ask them if they're applying.
That's a really good
How
question.
many applications are submitted and how many are awarded? Like what the numbers are?
I don't know that.
I think they have that information on their website, but I don't remember off the top of my head what.
Yeah.
Like by region or something? I'm just curious, like how many people actually apply and how many people are
Yeah, they said on the website there was a percentage, they said of how many, that it's
I
like
want
a
to say it's
certain
like
percentage.
10% of all people who apply get it, which is pretty high.
So it's very competitive.
I don't
Well,
know,
but 10% is also,
if
pretty
600 people
Oh,
apply
really?
and 60
Yeah.
people are getting a grant, that's pretty good, yeah.
yeah.
Which again is like incentive to apply every year if you don't get it, because again, it's like,
And then coming back to Wylder's point, like the number of people funded in a particular region is tethered to the number of people who apply, right? So if fewer people in a region apply, fewer people get funded. If more people in a region apply, more people get funded.
Okay, yeah. So it's good to really put in a lot of applications, even if you're like, oh yeah, there's a dime a dozen sculptors
Oh, but
doing
you
this
just-
or that.
But you never
you
know.
just never know. And I want to just say, like, anecdotally, we've been doing this is our 3rd time. And there are folks that, like, we got feedback from, like, I never in a million years would have thought I would have gotten this grant, and I did. Like, never gotten a grant, got this grant. Like, you
Yeah.
just don't know. And, like, the main thing I just want everybody to take away is, like keep showing up to it. And, like, just because you don't get it this time does not mean that your art, like, isn't worthy of being funded. Like, your art is needed in this world, and like it's hard. It's really hard out there. And also, like, I really believe in every single one of you, and you just never know.
Well, and also it seems like we're kind of supporting each other by saying, well, maybe I don't get it, but maybe because I apply, someone in the room gets it.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
you're kind of like pulling together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
And also to the question, my understanding from what you've been saying, and tell me if this is true or not, is like, it's less about what exactly you're doing. Like other grants might be, yeah, they want to show you, see that you're doing something really unique, but they care more about like who you are. So like 10 sculptors could apply, but only one of them has been doing it for decades, and like only one of them, you know, fits into the other categories of people who are historically marginalized. And so it's like less about what you're doing, more about like who you are to the community.
Or how you write it.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like this example, I mean, it didn't go into any detail about the song or the process or anything. Yeah, so I think it's all about how you express yourself. It's like they don't even seem to care what you're actually doing. It's more.
And the work samples are where you get to express that.
But it's like creating a competitive narrative about yourself, it sounds like.
Yeah,
It's a big piece.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's probably likely that these are not going to be read by AI. So we're communicating to a human being. And in my experience, well, all of us as artists, creative types, we're doing this work of connecting to people in some way or some form. So
That was really beautiful. And thank you all for being here. And I hope that we can keep showing up together and like working through this mess of how we find funding in the landscape of this country right now, and how we can continue to build like interdependent networks of support with each other across our art towards like a more resourced community. So something that I want to just share is after this workshop, I'll be emailing the slides. I'll also email, sort of in grant lingo, the cheat sheet, which is a document, Google Doc that you can make a copy of, and you can sort of draft your grant in. I really want to encourage you to not write on the portal and write on a Google Doc or on a piece of paper first, because then you can like visualize it and play with it a little bit more. In my experience, when you write on the portal, it kind of, yeah. And you lose it. That's also horrible. So yeah, make sure you always have a backup for yourself. And you'll have my email. I will try to make myself as available as I can. So if you have remaining questions as you go through the grant writing process, please don't be shy. I really want everyone in here to apply. And anything I can do to support that, I will try. I also want to name that MassCultural Council has office hours that you can go on their website and you can talk to a real human being who actually works for the MassCultural Council, not a rogue individual like myself. And so if you have questions that I can't answer, I really highly encourage you to seek that as a resource. But thank you all. And we're gonna invite, there's a quick part two. I'm gonna let you introduce.
Can I have the clicker?
Oh my God, yes.
Where's the clicker?
It's right here.
Thank you. And so I am here as the tech support for you guys. Wylder mentioned portals and file sizes and video length. And some of those things are confusing and we might not know how to do them, or we're scared to do them, or we want help doing them. So to introduce myself to you all, some of you I've seen from past workshops, which is really cool. I'm Hannah Cox. I'm the digital navigator at Northampton Open Media. If you're not familiar with Northampton Open Media, we are Northampton's local access television station, and we air government meetings, and we air local short films and local content. And we are also a place where you can rent out equipment, such as cameras. And I am the person that provides tech help to the community and libraries, at senior centers, in the office that we have on Hawley Street. And so a big part of what we do is focusing on digital equity. And this is also a big part of the grant of, if you don't know how to upload a document to the portal, then how are you going to apply to the grant? And so that is where we are here. Well, specifically, I am here to work with you one-on-one if you need it, to support you through your creative process. And maybe uploading files might not be the most riveting thing, but I promise I can help. So this is mainly done through the process of drop-in tech help hours. I'm at Forbes Library on Monday. Tuesday and Thursday, I'm in my office on Hawley Street. And if you are 60 plus, you can join me at the Senior Center. And this is a time where we work one-on-one with whatever tech issue you have. But in this case, it could be maybe you are a performing artist and you want to choose a 1-minute clip of your performance, but you don't know how to edit your clip down. You can come see me and I can help you edit your clip down. And not just do it for you, but it's about learning how to do it, so then you have the skills to go out and, you know, edit your song down, edit your video down, so that you can share it into this grant portal. You can take a picture of this. This info is also, there's some handouts in the back if you need like a physical copy of it. But this is a great resource, and I am the person that would be helping you. There's also, if you are in the process of creating your work and you want to photograph your painting or perform your dance routine. You name it, for free. You can become a member, and you can rent out equipment and use our gear to document your work, your process. So that's another tool to contribute to you as an artist and your grant application. This is my contact information. This is me. This QR code, if you're into QR code scanning, this is to the newsletter for updates about programming regarding our digital navigation program. One interesting thing that's not written and something that might be of interest to people in the room is on September 22nd, which is a Monday, from 5 to 6 p.m., I will be having a Canva workshop for beginners. And if you're not familiar with Canva, it's a very user-friendly, beginner-friendly graphic design program. Its free version is pretty good too. And so this is a great way to contribute to your website, to social media, to create stickers or business cards or any sort of graphic design. If that's something totally new to you, just letting you know we have a workshop on it. And in the future, we have workshops on more techie things like how to use a DSLR camera or how to use a stop motion animation station or how to use your iPhone. So we cover it all. But this is here, and I'm here to support you in this process as an artist. And so if you have any questions, just pull me aside as I walk out the doors. And more info on a physical sheet is in the back for you. So thank you. Oh, do you have a question? Yeah.
I was wondering if I could bring in my equipment, like my camera, and ask you a question.
Yes, of course. You can, no question is a stupid question when it comes to technology, and we have the tools to figure it out. So of course you can. You can bring in your phone, your laptop, your SD card, your camera, your hearing aids, and I can help you with it. I can help you with your hearing aids too. Any other questions? Okay, Cassandra.
Thanks, everybody. I didn't introduce myself at the top. I'm Cassandra. Thank you all for coming to Bombyx tonight. We have some snacks and some bubbly water, so feel free to stay for a few minutes, mingle, ask questions. We're all here to help. Like, we're all here to support you being successful in this application. Thanks.